What's going on, guys? Coming back at you with another video. Right out of the gate, I'm going to try. Don't hold me to it. I'm going to try to make this video short. This is a fairly cheap knife, and I don't think it would have a whole lot of interest. So I'm going to try not to devote a lot of time to this knife, but I'm going to hit everything important, kind of give you my thoughts on it. I just thought it was a cool knife. First, I'm going to start by showing you the packaging. Try to get it all in frame. This is the box that this knife comes in. Today we'll be talking about the Tangram. That's the knife brand, Tangram, as you can see it right there. And the model is the Amarillo. But I just wanted to take a quick second to look at this packaging. This is some of the cooler knife packaging that I've ever seen. This is just a plain cardboard box. Or sleeve. You can see right there it says Gold Award 2018. I'm not 100% sure what that's about. Not sure what their gold award was for. But this is very economical packaging, but they found a way to make it cool. So this is just a sleeve. You take that off, and then you have this, and this is just pressed cardboard that they've folded up into a makeshift case, and it's got one of the little string, I don't know what you call these, but one of the little string connectors to keep this flap closed. So you have to untwist this, and once you untwist that, you can open this up. Sorry guys, give me a second. Whew. Get y'all back on track. Almost had a catastrophic malfunction. Once you open it up, there's your packaging. Down here they have a little cleaning cloth as well as just a little business card type deal. And then right here is where your knife would normally come. I just wanted to take a second to appreciate that. At the price point this knife comes in, they could have just thrown it in the box with a plastic sleeve and called it a day, and nobody would have said anything to them about it. But they actually went and devoted time to give you packaging like this. I just thought that was cool. Let me get that out of the way. The knife we'll be talking about today is this. This is the Tangram Knives Amarillo. As you can see right here on this side, Tangram, and then on the off side, you can see it there, Amarillo. Like I said, that's the knife model. This is a very small knife, not a micro knife. There are plenty of knives that are smaller than this, but this is a small knife, especially for me anyway. Many of you guys know I like to carry a bigger knife. This is a very small knife for me. It is a pretty standard knife. It is a stainless steel G10 liner lock. Go ahead and knock the specs out of the way real quick. Overall length on this knife from tip to butt is 6 1/4 inches. The blade length is 2 3/4 inches, so a 2 3/4 inch blade, and the handle length is 3 1/2 inches. So it's a very small, very compact knife. And the weight on this guy is 2.4 ounces. So it's very small, very lightweight. If you're one of those guys, you don't like a big knife, you want one of those knives that you can throw in your pocket and forget that it's there, this would be a good knife, especially if you're on a budget. That was one of the reasons I got this knife. I was actually putting in an Amazon order for other stuff, and good old Amazon, knowing me so well, they have those little pop-up, scroll past things you might be interested in, and this was one of them. This knife was $25 on Amazon, and of course if you have Amazon Prime, like I feel most people do, free shipping. So this knife cost me $25, 25 flat. I know Amazon charges tax now, so whatever tax on that is, but I figure all in I've got 27 bucks in this knife, and it's a cool little knife. I'll be upfront with you, I haven't used it a whole lot. I have carried it a few times, and I have used it for most things that I would use my EDC knives for. I just haven't used it extensively. Again, I don't really like smaller knives. Just me in particular, I like a bigger knife. So this didn't get a whole lot of carry time, but I've carried it long enough. I feel I can give you a fairly good, unbiased opinion, my opinion on this knife. And I'll go ahead, if you just want to end the video here, if you're just looking for a small, cheap knife that's pretty good quality for an EDC knife, 27 bucks, 25 bucks, pick one of these up. It's a great knife. And that can be the end of your review. I'm going to go a little bit further. Again, it's a stainless steel liner lock, flipper, no thumb studs, so flipper is your only deployment option. And if you see me try to be cautious with this knife, it's funny. Again, one of the reasons I don't like smaller knives, I like bigger knives. The day I actually got this knife, I was opening it, and if you can see, my palm fat kind of rolls over the end of the handle right there. And as I flipped it open, I'm going to hold my finger over it. As I flipped it open, my palm fat was rolled over there, and the tip of the knife, again, it's not sharpened up top. It's just it's got a very fine, I don't even know if the camera will focus on it. It's just got a very fine tip on it. It actually cut me a little bit right here on the palm of my hand as I opened it. Just the tip of that knife scraping up against my hand right there. It actually cut me. So if you see me be cautious in this video, that's why. But specs out of the way, again, this is a Tangram. And for those of you who don't know, I know I'm kind of late to the party on this knife. I know these kind of really, got their time in the spotlight 2 or 3 years ago. But in case you didn't know, or this is your first time seeing it, Tangram Knives is its own company. Again, it's a Chinese company. This is a Chinese-made knife. But the knives are actually made by Kaiser. If you know anything about knives or you're into knives, you've probably heard of Kaiser. I kind of consider them one of the OG Chinese manufacturers for knives that kind of, step their game up. In my opinion, they were kind of one of those Chinese companies that showed the U.S. market, hey, we can make good, high-quality knives just like y'all can. We can just do it at a better price. I feel like Kaiser was one of those. And Tangram's knives are actually made by Kaiser. And you are getting, again, these are a budget point knife. You're not getting fancy materials, but it's still a very well-made knife. It's a well-designed knife, and it's a very well-made knife. Like, you're still getting that Kaiser knife quality with this knife, even at the price point. And I haven't looked at all of Tangram's knives, everything they have to offer, but all the ones I've seen, at least on Amazon, are all kind of like this. As far as price-wise, they're all a budget knife. And, short stroke there. Again, that's me being cautious, trying not to cut my hand again. They may have some more expensive knives, I'm not sure. But for most of the ones I've seen, they're all fairly cheap knives. Cheap price-wise, not necessarily cheap quality-wise, because those are two different things. Go into a few of the things on this knife. It doesn't really say it on here. You can see right there on the blade it says Akuto. I don't know if I'm going to be pronouncing that right because I know it's Chinese. The blade steel on this knife is Akuto 440. I don't really know a whole lot about it, only what they say in the description of this knife. But Tangram does, in the description, say that Akuto 440, it's based, much like a, Bowler, Bowler M390. Bowler has their own proprietary blends of steel. Carpenter has their blends. Akuto is a Chinese steel manufacturer, and that is one of their in-house variations of 440C. That's what Tangram says. They said Akuto 440 is just a modified 440C. And I actually like 440C a lot for the price point of the knife if the heat treat is done well. But Tangram says that Akuto 440C is just a standard 440C, but with more chromium and vanadium added to it. So it should be a little bit tougher, should hold edge a little bit longer. Again, maybe harder to sharpen, you know, it should be harder to sharpen. Who knows? I haven't really used this knife enough. I didn't need to sharpen this knife when I got it. This is still the factory edge. It was plenty sharp, so there was no need for me to have to touch it up. And I haven't really used this knife enough to wear the edge out, so as far as sharpening goes, I can't tell you. But it holds up. I mean, for my uses, it cuts and it's held up just as good as any decent 440C, you know, from an American manufacturer would. So no issues there. G10 handle, I got the brown G10 on Amazon. They have 3 different colors. They have a brown G10, a green G10, and a black G10. When I ordered this knife, the black G10 was out of stock. All I had was brown and green, and I've already got too many green G10 handled knives. So I got this brown one just to change it up a little bit. Lanyard, guys, you have a lanyard hole. Good for you. The lanyard you put on this knife will be bigger than the knife is. But like I said, I got the brown G10. One thing I do want to give props to Tangram for, the pivot screw on this knife is a T8 as well. Again, this is a pillar construction liner lock. The body screws on this knife are also T8. Good job, Tangram. If any of you guys watch Metal Complex, I feel the same way as he does. I hate T6 screws. They're too soft. They strip way too easy. I will take T8 any day if I can get it. And for this to be such a small knife, I really like that they decided to go ahead and use T8 screws. I give them big props for that. The pocket clip is a deep carry clip. As you can see, it's a full deep carry clip. This knife will disappear in your pocket. And props to Tangram and Kaiser. Those pocket clip screws are recessed all the way. They're not poking out at all. They're flush mounted screws, so they're not going to take up any room inside the pocket clip. And just a note, the pocket clip screws are T6 screws. We couldn't get T8 all the way around, but hey, if I can get a T8 pivot and T8 body screws, I'll take that all day. The pocket clip screws are T6, which is fine for me because I'm not going to have to move it. This knife, you can carry it 2 ways. It comes in tip up right hand or left hand. There's no tip down carry. So tip up right hand or left hand only. As it comes right hand tip up. So that's fine with me. That's how I carry all my knives, so I don't have to mess with that. This knife is on caged bearings. Again, very good for the price point. This isn't the smoothest knife in the world. It's not unsmooth. There's not anything wrong with it. It's just gonna be one of those, it's gonna require a little bit of break-in. I did take this knife apart after I got it and oil it. Again, take out the factory oil and put my knife pivot lube in there. It did smoothen up just a little bit, but it's just gonna require a little break-in. I think after a little bit of break-in, this knife will be just as smooth as anything else, reasonably. It's decent though. Really, that's all I have to say on it. Again, I was going to try to make this video short, just kind of brief overview of this knife. I do like it. It's a neat little knife. I honestly won't carry this knife a whole lot just because it's a small knife. And again, I don't really like small knives. I like a bigger knife. And this, for me, is on the very small end of the spectrum. If y'all can see me struggle with it a little bit, the recessed part of this handle to get to the liner lock is very shallow, and my thumbs, again, I mean, if you can see my thumb is the size of this knife, basically. I mean, if you can see my thumb next to this knife, I have a hard time actuating that liner lock with my thumb. My thumb just doesn't want to get up in there all the way. I can do it, I just really have to dig down in there. So a lot of the time, I'm using my index finger and using it to disengage the liner lock just because it's easier for me. My thumbs are so big. But that's neither here nor there. It's just a small knife, and small knives don't work with my hands. I guess in the hand size, you can see for me, this is a 3-finger knife. Nowhere for my pinky to get on here. It just kind of falls off the back end. But I can comfortably fit 3 fingers on here, and that's perfectly fine. I mean, for anything that I will be using this knife for. I'm not going to be using this knife for any heavy work. So 3 fingers is fine. The blade shape, you may have noticed, I don't know if you can tell better with or without the background, it's sort of a clip point blade shape. It's good. For what this knife is intended for, I think it's a good blade shape. It's got a really, really good point on it. Again, it's a very fine point, kind of getting into Spyderco, PM2 point. Not going to be a really strong point. I'm sure I could break that point off if I wanted to, misusing this knife. But for its intended purpose, I think it'll hold up fine. But it's sort of a clip point. It's got a good little bit of belly, and it's got a good bit of cutting edge. Again, the blade length on this is only 2 3/4 inches, but it's actually it has pretty much all of that is usable cutting blade. So it's actually a decent amount of cutting length. Real quick, I'll throw some more knives up here just to kind of give you a size comparison. Many of y'all know the Civivi Elementum. The Civivi Elementum is actually a little bit bigger than the Tangram is. If you can see that, the Civivi is actually about 1/2 inch longer overall than the Tangram. So again, like I said, this is a small knife. That's why it doesn't agree with my hands. Throw in another one. This is the Spyderco PM2. As you can see, the Spyderco PM2 is much longer. The Spyderco is probably 2 3/4 inches longer overall than the Tangram is. Again, this is a small knife. The Civivi is about as small a knife as I can comfortably carry and use on a regular basis. I mean, this is about as low as my limit goes as far as how small of a knife that I can comfortably use. The Tangram is a really small knife. And again, just as a general, this is more something like I would EDC. This is the ZT-0566. This is more along the lines of something that I would consider an EDC knife for me. 3 1/4, 3.5 inch blade, something like that. A little bit beefier. And if you compare those, you can see the ZT, and this ZT is not a big knife overall. In the grand scheme, this ZT isn't that big. It dwarfs this knife, both in length and weight and every other spec you can think of. So again, it's just a really small knife. Great knife for somebody who wants to carry a knife, who needs to carry a knife, but who isn't necessarily a knife guy or doesn't, rely on their knife on a day-to-day basis, or just somebody who does like small knives. Somebody with smaller hands, smaller stature person. Again, this knife is only 2.5 ounces. This knife is one of those, I could stick this in my pocket and carry it, and I would never know it was even in my pocket. I could carry 5 of these on my person every day, and it would be a non-issue. I mean, consider the fact that one of my go-to EDC knives is the Cold Steel 4MAX. I mean, you know what I mean? This is what I'm used to carrying right here. I actually do carry the 4MAX Scout quite often. I could carry a bundle of these. It would be a non-issue. So that's all I wanted to say. If you want a small knife, if you like small knives, or you're just looking for a small knife, especially on a budget, again, this knife is 25 bucks, and it's got Kaiser quality. It's a really good quality knife. I'm just not crazy about it because it's too small for me. It just doesn't fit me very well. But again, this may be your jam. I would highly recommend looking at these if you are in the market for a knife like this. And they do have other offerings. Tangram does have, I know on Amazon, I didn't really look thoroughly, but I know I saw at least 3 or 4 other Tangram knives, and some of them are small like this one are. So get on there and check them out. That's really all I got for you this video, guys. If you like the video, remember, hit that subscribe button, turn on that notification bell. If there's anything you want to let me know, anything I need to know, anything you want to let me know, questions, comments, concerns, anything like that, feel free to drop it down in the comments, guys. Hope you enjoyed. Again, till next time, hope you guys are safe. Take it easy, and we'll see y'all.